Hi everyone. In this video, we will be discussing about GST on residential property. The GST Council, by way of notification number 4/2022, which is effective from 18th July 2022, has amended the exemption notification 12/2017. And the amendment is that in the exemption notification, services by way of renting of residential dwelling for use as residence was earlier exempted. Now, this particular clause is amended by way of services by way of renting of residential dwelling for use except when a residential dwelling is rented to a registered person. Notification number 13/2017 Central Tax Rate Notification is also amended through notification bar 05/2022. They have inserted a serial number 5AA and brought the renting of residential dwelling to a registered person by any person is liable to tax at 18%. So, from the joint reading of notification bar 4/2022 and notification 5/2022, it is very clear that now the residential dwelling, which is let out even for a residential use, if it is being let out to a registered person, then it is liable to tax. So, earlier, when a residential dwelling was let out for residential purposes, then it was not taxable. Now it is liable to tax at 18%, and the taxation comes under reverse charge mechanism. So the supplier can be the supplier of the service can be any person. It can be an individual, it can be a firm, a company, it can be a registered or an unregistered supplier. But if the recipient is a registered person, then we have to pay tax under RCM method. RCM is whereby the recipient shall pay the tax at 18%. So we have given the scenarios, different scenarios in which we will be discussing whether GST will be applicable or not. So the first case is a registered supplier supplying the rental service, renting of residential property for residential purposes to an unregistered recipient. So both the supplier as well as the recipient is unregistered and hence it is exempt from GST. The second case is a registered supplier providing the service of renting of residential property for residential purposes to another registered recipient. Then GST is payable under RCM. The third case is registered supplier and an unregistered recipient. Because the recipient is unregistered, it is exempt from GST. The fourth case is an unregistered supplier and a registered recipient. So if the recipient is registered, then GST is payable under RCM. So the basic concept of this notification is if the recipient is registered, irrespective of the status of the supplier, the recipient has to pay GST under RCM. The catch in this provision is that as per section 17(5) subsection 5G, goods and services are both used for personal consumption is a blocked credit. So, in case, for example, a proprietor is renting a property for his residential use. So, it is like an expense of personal nature. But because he is a registered recipient, he has to pay tax on that under RCM. But he will not be able to take the credit because it is blocked under section 17 subsection 5G. So that is a particular catch in case of small businesses where they have to, because they hold a registration, they will be forced to pay tax as per this particular notification under RCM, but they will not be able to take the credit. This is also applicable in case of companies which are taking residential apartments for their employees, for the residential accommodation of their employees, directors, etc. In that case also, because they are a registered recipient, they have to pay tax under RCM. So, and in case of uh, a residential dwelling that is rented for commercial purposes. If it is rented for a commercial purposes, it will not get covered under this notification, because this covers only a residential dwelling that is rented for a residential purpose to a registered person by any other person. So if it is for a commercial purpose, then it will be under forward charge mechanism only. So we need to consider whether it is for whether it is a residential dwelling, and whether it has been uh, whether supply of service is for a residential purpose, and the status of the recipient, to see if it is whether the notification will apply and whether they have to pay tax under RCM. That's all in this video. Thank you so much for uh, listening, and do share, subscribe, and like our channel.